this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Welcome in, everyone, to Lively Lewis Stories.
That's right. We're back with even more awesome adventures with Levi and Ivy.
Set your storytime meter to fun and get ready to join the Lively Lewis crew.
All you need is your imagination and...
Off we go! I can't wait to see where our story takes us today.
Have you ever wanted to get more Lively Lewis in your life?
Well, we've got you covered.
Grab an adult and zoom over to livelylewisshop.com.
Or just click on the link in our show notes.
Enough about that. Let's get to today's super Lively Lewis story.
Too Much Chocolate, Part 1. The story you're about to enjoy was inspired by Eliza. Thank you so much for your amazing idea. If there was one thing that Ivy loved to eat, it was chocolate. And not just one type of chocolate. All types of chocolate. Chocolate bars, chocolate lollipops, chocolate-covered gummy bears, and even chocolate shaped like animals, cars, vegetables, and even bugs. As long as it was chocolate, it was for her. But it was getting to be a bit of a problem. Ivy had always liked chocolate, but she had never craved it before until last Halloween, when an epic candy haul had her looking for the sweet treat all day, every day. So on one particular day, after her second visit to the dentist in 2 weeks to have a cavity filled, her parents decided it was time to put a stop to Ivy's chocolate chaos. They also needed to keep a better eye on her toothbrushing, but that was a different story. "Ivy, your mom and I need to talk to you," said Ivy's dad when they got home from the dentist. "Yep, hold on 1 minute. I'm just looking for a snack," called Ivy as she rummaged through the cupboards in the kitchen. Getting that cavity filled made me hungry. As Ivy searched through the shelf after shelf, her parents decided to meet her in the kitchen. "Do you know where my chocolate bucket is?" asked Ivy. And if you don't have a chocolate bucket at home, it's exactly what it sounds like. A bucket filled with every different type of chocolate you can think of. Her parents, trying to be nice after Halloween, let Ivy have a little piece of chocolate each day. They didn't think much of it because Ivy had never been that big of a fan of chocolate. But as days turned into weeks, Ivy started sneaking chocolate all throughout the day. It became her favorite food, and no one could stop her from devouring the sweet treat. Then, before her parents knew it, they had created a chocolate monster, which was pretty fitting since it all started with Halloween candy. "Ivy, you can stop looking for your chocolate basket," said Ivy's mom, knowing very well what Ivy's reaction would be when she told her where her tasty chocolatey snacks went. "Yes, Ivy, you can stop looking because your chocolate isn't in there," began her dad, looking a bit nervous. "We threw it out." Ivy stopped her search and slowly turned around to face her parents. "I'm sorry, I don't think I heard you correctly," Ivy said with a forced giggle. "It sounded like you threw out my chocolate, and since you know how much I love chocolate, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that because it would make me so sad. And I know you don't want me to be sad, right?" The look on Ivy's face turned into a worried frown as she realized that her parents were telling her the truth. "Oh no. Oh no. Why would you throw out my chocolate?" exclaimed Ivy as she plopped down in one of the kitchen chairs. "Am I being punished for something?" "No, Ivy, you didn't do anything wrong." "Well, not exactly," said her mom, sitting down next to her at the kitchen table. "We did." "She's right, Ivy. We let you have chocolate every day, and that started a bad habit," her dad explained. "You started out having one little piece a day, then it was 2 pieces, then more and more and more. We should have stopped you a while ago. I mean, you just got home from getting a cavity filled because of all the chocolate you're eating. And the first thing you did was look for more chocolate. Eating too much chocolate isn't good for you," added Ivy's mom. "It can make you cranky, give you cavities, and make it hard for you to sleep because of all the sugar. We're sorry, but right now we think it's best for you to lay off the chocolate for a bit. A piece here and there is totally fine. I mean, I love chocolate too, but eating it every day just isn't great for you," said Ivy's dad. Ivy was so shocked that she couldn't even think of what to say. She just sat there thinking of her favorite chocolates and how much she was going to miss them. "Ivy, we need you to say something," said her mom. "You're not being punished. You can have chocolate again, just not right now." "There has to be something else you can eat," suggested her dad as he got up and opened the fridge. "How about some grapes or string cheese? You used to love those snacks." "Or some graham crackers or pretzels," added Ivy's mom. "No, thank you," said Ivy in a sad voice as she stood up. "I'm not hungry all of a sudden. I know I was eating too much chocolate, and I know you're just trying to do what's best for me, but I'm going to need a minute to think all this over. Ivy's parents were happy with the way their daughter was handling the new chocolate shortage, and they decided it would be best to let her try and work through it on her own to start out. "We're here if you need any snack suggestions," said Ivy's mom with a little smile. "Okay, thank you," said Ivy in a soft voice as she walked into the living room where Levi had been listening to her conversation with their parents. "I heard the whole thing," he said as Ivy sat down next to him on the couch. "Sorry about that, but maybe I can make you something tasty to eat. Do you want to try my latest combination? Pickles and raisins. Sounds strange, but oddly enough, it works." Levi definitely had what Ivy would politely call a unique diet. When she wasn't being polite, she would say he eats some really weird food. "No, thanks. I think I'm going to go for a walk," said Ivy. So she told her parents she'd be back in a bit and headed out to think about her world without chocolate. As Ivy walked, she kind of lost track of where she was. The only thing swirling around in her were thoughts of chocolate, and before she knew it, she was standing in front of a store. A store she had been many times before. It was Charlotte's Chocolate Shop. Ivy had never been happier or sadder to see the little shop before. She pressed her nose up against the window and stared inside at every kind of chocolate you could imagine. As Ivy looked inside the little shop, she thought about one thing. "I'm sure Mom and Dad wouldn't be upset if I had just one little teeny tiny nibble of chocolate, right?" Ivy thought to herself. "After all, they did take all my chocolate, which means I'm going to be having way less than I normally would. So surely having one little taste right now would be fine." The more Ivy stared at the chocolate inside the little shop, the more she believed what she was saying. Then before she knew it, she was reaching for the door handle and walking inside. However, Charlotte, who owned the chocolate shop, was nowhere to be found. Ivy even called out to her to see if she was in the back, but no one answered. Knowing that she couldn't just take a piece of chocolate without paying for it, she frowned and turned to walk out. That's when she saw a small silver tray sitting on a table by the door. The tray was piled high with pieces of chocolate and a tiny sign that said, "Free samples. Take one." Ivy didn't even give it a second thought as she grabbed a piece of chocolate. As she nibbled the sweet treat, enjoying every little bit of it, Charlotte walked out from the back room. "Hi, Ivy. How long have you been here? Sorry I didn't come out before. I was working on a new chocolate creation in the back. I guess I was so focused on it I didn't hear you come in," said Charlotte, standing in front of Ivy in an apron covered in melted chocolate. "No problem. I haven't been here long, and I can't stay," said Ivy, finishing the last little bit of her free sample. "I just came in to say goodbye." "To me? Are you moving or something?" asked Charlotte, sounding a bit surprised. "No, I'm here to say goodbye to chocolate," answered Ivy. "My mom and dad said I've been eating too much of it, and they took all the chocolate I had in the house." "Wow, that's really sad news. Not just for you, but for me too. Lately, you've been one of my best customers," said Charlotte with a giggle. "But seriously, if you're going to stop eating chocolate, at least make your last chocolatey treat something really special." And before Ivy could say that she already had a free sample and that was going to be her last bite of chocolate for a long while, Charlotte disappeared into the back room. In a few seconds, she rushed back out holding a napkin with a small square of chocolate resting on it. "This is the new chocolate I've been working on, and there's no one I can think of that will appreciate it as much as you," said Charlotte, handing a square of chocolate to Ivy. Ivy quickly thought about her parents and what they would say, but she also thought it would be rude to refuse the tasty treat. After all, Charlotte had worked so hard on it. So not wanting to make Charlotte sad, Ivy took the chocolate and popped it in her mouth. She let it melt on her tongue, enjoying every little flavor, and it was the best chocolate she had ever had in her whole life. She told Charlotte how great it was and said someday she'd be back to have another piece, but for now she had to be heading home. Charlotte told her the secret to the chocolate was a very old, possibly magical recipe that she used. "Just my luck. The day I stop eating chocolate is the day you figure out how to make it magic," giggled Ivy as she waved goodbye to Charlotte and walked out of the shop. Charlotte giggled too, but in the back of her mind she thought, what if? Just what if that chocolate is a little magic? I guess we'll have to wait and see. As Ivy walked home, Charlotte went back to making chocolate. Little did she know that Ivy would be back a lot sooner than she thought, and she'd have something pretty amazing to tell her. It didn't take Ivy long to get home, and when she arrived, her mom opened the door for her, holding a big plate of oatmeal cookies. "Hungry now?" she asked, holding up the plate of cookies, which just so happened to be one of Ivy's favorites. I'm all set, Mom, but thank you, answered Ivy. Her mom asked her about her walk, trying to get a little smile out of her daughter, but Ivy just said she was fine and walked upstairs to her room. Once inside, Ivy pushed her door shut with her foot and flopped on her bed, and that's when it happened. She was still thinking about chocolate, so she decided to distract herself with some drawing. But when she picked up her favorite marker, something unusual and delicious happened. The marker turned to chocolate, completely chocolate, right before her eyes. Ivy couldn't believe what she was seeing. She assumed that she was just so focused on chocolate at the moment that her eyes were playing tricks on her. She picked up another marker and another, and one after the other, they all turned to chocolate. She touched her notebook, a stuffed animal on her bed, and her soccer ball. Chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. Now, what would you do if everything you touched turned to chocolate? You may be tempted to take a little nibble to see what a chocolate notebook tasted like. Well, that's exactly what Ivy did, and it tasted amazing. Not knowing how long this newfound magic power would last, Ivy began grabbing everything she could. Shirts, necklaces, building blocks, and even her alarm clock were all now 100% chocolate. Ivy continued turning her world and everything in it into chocolate, thinking the whole time that this was the most amazing thing that had ever happened to her. And of course, as she turned things into chocolate, she just had to take a little nibble from each, really enjoying her newfound magical powers. Ivy spent quite a bit of time in her room, eating more chocolate than she had ever eaten before. But after an hour or so had passed, Ivy's mom knocked on the door wanting to check in and see how Ivy was doing. Ivy, honey, open up. I have some carrots and ranch dressing for you, said her mom. I know it's not chocolate, but you do need to eat a little something. Ivy called out to her mom to give her 1 second as she tried to figure out a way to open her bedroom door without touching it and turn it into chocolate. Ivy felt like she wanted to keep her magical powers to herself for just a little bit longer. She told her mom she wasn't hungry for carrots right then, and she'd go downstairs soon and make herself something to eat. Ivy's mom told her she was leaving the carrots outside her door and hoped she would eat them. At that point, after thinking about it for a second, Ivy had been eating so much chocolate that the thought of carrots dipped in ranch did actually sound pretty good. When she knew her mom had gone downstairs, Ivy grabbed a shirt to wrap around her hand so she didn't touch her doorknob directly and turn it into chocolate. But of course, the shirt she touched turned to chocolate. So now with a solid chocolate shirt, she tried her best to open the door. It took a while, but she did it. After making sure no one was in the hallway, Ivy dragged the plate of carrots and ranch into her room with the shirt. I know I can't pick up the carrots, thought Ivy, so I'll just grab them with my teeth. But as Ivy leaned down, she put her hands on the floor to steady herself, and bam, chocolate floor. Oh no, called out Ivy loud enough for Levi to hear. And before she could tell him to not come in, Levi opened her bedroom door, took one step on the chocolate floor, and slid into Ivy's room. Not wanting Levi to get hurt, Ivy quickly put her hands to stop him, and can you guess what happened next? Levi, no! Whispered Ivy, not wanting her parents to hear. She held out her hands to stop her brother from falling, but thankfully pulled them away just in time to stop herself from touching Levi. However, not fast enough to stop herself from touching his shirt, which she now had to explain to her brother why almost everything in her room, including his shirt, was made of chocolate. What's going on? What did you do to my shirt? And most importantly, can I eat a little bit of it? Asked Levi, trying to make sense of everything that was going on in Ivy's room. Levi, we don't have time for chocolate snacks right now, Ivy said as she went on to explain. When I went for my walk, I ended up at the chocolate shop. Charlotte gave me some new chocolate she had just made, and after I ate it, she said it was a special recipe and the chocolate may be magic. Maybe magic? I think you can safely say it's magic for sure, said Levi with a giggle, trying to nibble a sleeve on his shirt. You have to help me get out of the house and back to the chocolate shop, said Ivy. I have to get to Charlotte to help me. Hopefully she can and makes my magic power and all this chocolate go away. Levi could have not been more surprised. Wow, Ivy, I never thought I'd hear you say you wanted to get rid of chocolate, said Levi. But I get it. It would be impossible to keep your magic power a secret for much longer with everything you touch turning to rich, sweet, chocolatey chocolate. Levi, stop thinking about chocolate and let's go, said Ivy. Okay, but you have to cover your hands, said Levi. We can't have you randomly touching things as we leave the house. Mom and Dad may see. Then they'll find out that you've been sneaking chocolate. Magical chocolate, no less, all morning. But anything that touches my hands will turn to chocolate, Levi, Ivy reminded her brother. Okay, then just be extra careful, said Levi, who ran to his room to change his shirt. Once he got back, Levi and Ivy made their way down the hallway, down the stairs, and through the living room, with Ivy trying as hard as she could to not touch anything. And just when they thought they were in the clear, Levi opened the front door for them to leave and found his dad standing right there on the porch. Hi, you two, he said. Oh, hi, Dad, said Ivy, putting her hands behind her back, careful not to touch her shirt. I'm proud of you, Ivy, said her dad. You've been doing a great job not eating chocolate today. I bet once you start doing some other things to take your mind off it, that you won't even think about chocolate one time. Sure, Dad, definitely, said Ivy, trying to end the conversation as quickly as possible. Here, how about trying one of these? I just bought them at the orchard down the road, asked Ivy's dad as he tossed his daughter a red, shiny apple. Ivy watched as the apple spun through the air to her in slow motion. But before it fell into her hand, her dad turned away to walk into the garage. Ivy caught the apple, and instantly it turned into solid chocolate. She then tossed the chocolate apple to Levi, who quickly hid it back inside the house on the table by the front door. Once that apple was out of sight, Levi and Ivy ran to the chocolate shop as fast as they could. Once they got there, Ivy, forgetting her magic power, grabbed the door handle, turning the whole door into chocolate. This happened right in front of Charlotte, who was restocking chocolate lollipops in the back of the store. Oh no, said Charlotte as she waved Levi and Ivy into the shop. Oh no. I know, said Ivy, and I need your help. Your magic chocolate was fun at first, but now I just want to be able to pick up an apple or hug my teddy bear without turning them into chocolate. Like I told you, I had a feeling this would happen. Fortunately for you and your teddy bear, I know how to reverse it, Charlotte said. But I don't know that you're gonna like it. Whatever it is, I am ready. I can't look at chocolate for one more minute, said Ivy. Just tell me what to do. You have to eat something, said Charlotte as she walked into the back room. Oh no, not more chocolate, sighed Ivy. I don't think I can. Nope, not chocolate, answered Charlotte, but rather the most unlike chocolate food you can think of. You have to eat broccoli. And not just a little piece, but a whole head of broccoli. Sorry, Ivy. Ouch, no fun, Ivy, said Levi, making a face at the thought of eating all that broccoli. Charlotte went back into the room and quickly returned holding a huge plate of cut up broccoli. You just happen to have a whole head of broccoli cut up in the back already? Ivy asked. Like I said, I had a feeling this would happen, answered Charlotte. Ivy stared at the big pile of green on her plate in front of her. She had never seen so much broccoli in her whole life. And you're sure if I eat this, the magic power will go away? Ivy asked Charlotte. And I won't all of a sudden start turning things into broccoli, right? I guess we'll see, said Charlotte. But this is just regular old broccoli from the store down the street, so I'm thinking the chances of you getting broccoli magic powers is pretty low. Ivy looked over at Levi, who stood right behind her to cheer her on. Then on the count of 3, Ivy started to eat piece after piece of broccoli until everyone was gone. It was actually pretty good, said Ivy, finishing her last piece of broccoli. After eating all that chocolate, it's nice to eat something that's fresh and green. But I definitely think I've had my fill of broccoli for the year. Charlotte and Levi both laughed, but they also knew that they had to see if the broccoli worked. I still feel the same, said Ivy. Do you think the magic chocolate power went away? Charlotte shrugged her shoulders and said, There's only one way to find out. Since most everything in my shop is chocolate anyway, let me get you a bowl or something from the back room and you can try touching that. Sounds good, said Ivy as she stared at her hands, wondering if they were still filled with magic. Levi, on the other hand, had been staring at all the chocolate in the store the whole time Ivy was eating her broccoli. Since he had only taken a nibble of his chocolate shirt at home, he still had quite a big appetite for the sweet stuff. Levi, you look like you're starving, giggled Ivy. Why don't you take one of the free samples by the door? Good idea, Levi said as he walked over to grab a piece of chocolate. But if you remember, Ivy had accidentally turned the front door into chocolate. And with everything else going on, Levi and Ivy didn't notice that the door was melting all over the chocolate shop floor. As Levi was walking by, he slipped on the ooey gooey chocolate and fell forward, right toward his sister. Just like before, Ivy's first instinct was to put up her hands and stop Levi from falling. But would this mean Levi was going to turn into chocolate? There was no time to stop it from happening, and before Ivy knew it, she was holding Levi by his shoulders. He twisted away from her quickly, not knowing if he was seconds away from becoming a chocolate Levi statue. As he turned away from Ivy, Levi slipped again on the candy-covered floor, falling into a big puddle of chocolate. "Levi!" called out Ivy. "Levi, are you okay?" Hearing all the commotion, Charlotte ran out from the back room in time to see Ivy standing in the middle of the melted chocolate with a very nervous and concerned look on her face. Charlotte then looked down at the floor where Levi was laying, covered in chocolate. "Oh no, what have I done?" called out Ivy as she ran to Charlotte. "I'm a chocolate monster. We need to help Levi. I can't believe I just turned him into chocolate." Ivy began to cry and fell on the floor near the front counter. Charlotte tried to think fast and ran over to Levi. That's when she noticed he was moving. And after spending all your time in a chocolate shop, you know for sure that chocolate is not supposed to move. "Levi?" Charlotte whispered. "Are you chocolate?" That's when she heard a muffled voice say, "No, I'm not chocolate. Just covered in it because of the melting chocolate door." Levi slowly sat up and wiped the chocolate off his face with a big smile. "This has been a weird day," he said with a laugh as he licked a little bit of the melted chocolate off his fingers. Hearing his voice, Ivy stopped crying and looked up immediately. "Levi, I didn't turn you into a chocolate statue," exclaimed Ivy with great relief and excitement. "That means the broccoli worked, and my magic power is gone." Ivy was so excited she hugged Levi and helped him up. She was now covered in chocolate too, but she didn't care. She was just so happy that everything was back to normal. Well, except for the chocolate shop's front door, the part that had melted slowly turned back into a real door now that Ivy's magic power was gone. But anything that was melted stayed chocolate. So it definitely needed to be replaced. "I can't thank you enough for your help. And so sorry about the front door," said Ivy to Charlotte. "It's no problem, seeing as how I was the one that gave you the magic chocolate," giggled Charlotte. After seeing how the front door in the chocolate shop reacted to her magic powers being reversed, Ivy knew everything in her room would be back to normal when she got home, which made her breathe a huge sigh of relief. "Yep, the only things that we turned into chocolate that can't go back to normal are the things that have been eaten already, or things that had already melted," said Charlotte reassuringly. After helping Charlotte clean up what they could at the chocolate shop and cleaning themselves up a bit, Levi and Ivy said thank you and headed home. They were both anxious to see what Ivy's room looked like after they quickly washed off the rest of the chocolate in the bathroom. Thankfully, they made it inside and upstairs before their parents could see them, and just like Charlotte said, everything had turned back to normal in Ivy's bedroom. Thinking everything had worked out, she and Levi walked downstairs only to find their dad standing by the table next to the front door with a confused look on his face. "That's the table where I put the apple you turned to chocolate," Levi whispered to his sister. "Oh no. Since the front door has a big glass piece in it, I bet the sun streaming into the house melted the chocolate apple all over the table." "And melted chocolate doesn't change back," added Ivy, wondering what would happen next. "Hey, Ivy, do you know anything about the chocolate all over this table?" asked Ivy's dad as she and her brother walked into the living room. "I thought we took all of the chocolate out of the house. Were you sneaking the last little bit by any chance?" Ivy looked at Levi and started to laugh. "Something like that. I'm really sorry, Dad," said Ivy. "But definitely now know that too much chocolate is not good for me. You and Mom don't have to worry about me eating too much anymore." "Well, that's great to hear," said Ivy's dad, sounding a bit surprised. A week or so had passed since all of Ivy's chocolate had been removed from the house, and during that time, her parents noticed what a great job she was doing, limiting her sugary snacks and eating a bit more healthy. They were so proud, in fact, that they thought she had spent enough time without her favorite treat. They decided to surprise her by taking her to the chocolate shop in town so she could pick out a little something. Even though Ivy said no, her parents insisted. When they got there, Ivy noticed something new. It was the front door. She and Levi hadn't been back since the day Charlotte helped her reverse her magic power. "Very cool door," said Ivy's mom to Charlotte as they walked into the chocolate shop. "Oh, thank you," replied Charlotte as she looked at Levi and Ivy. Ivy was actually a big inspiration for the new door. "Oh, really? Probably because she was one of your best customers for so long," giggled Ivy's mom. "Something like that," answered Charlotte with a smile. Then all Levi and Ivy could do was laugh as they looked back at the new door, which was made to look like a big bar of melting chocolate. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the story and learned a little something too.
And since we know everyone has their own story, we'd love to hear yours.
If you have an idea for a Lively Lewis story, leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, your idea, and your little one's name.
Then maybe our next adventure will be with you.
Until our next Storytime Hangout.
Thanks for listening. We can't wait to share another fun Lively Lewis story with you.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.